They're ready. Let's head down to the feature match area for round 4 here from the Magic Online Championship. Hello and welcome to coverage of the Magic Online Championship. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas, and we're just about ready. In fact, we are ready now to head into the standard portion of our tournament. This is day 1, and we just finished Legacy, so we just came off of our first 3 rounds, which were Legacy, and now we're in Standard. So, Luis, we've got Sam Black versus Jonathan Angelescu, and let's take a look at what they're playing here. We've got Naya Control for Jonathan versus Black-Green Aurora, a big ramp deck here for Sam Black. Both players are only 2 undefeated players, so with a relatively small field here of 13 players, we're going to have our first undefeated after this match is over. Or our last undefeated, I should say.
That we will, and both players are kind of gearing up for a long game here, with Sam, of course, playing the Great Aurora with a lot of removal spells, ramp spells, and high-impact cards, whereas Jonathan, slightly lower curve, but still, 4 stasis here. We saw 2 copies in the opening hand that in fact got mulligan. Dragon Lord Atarka, these are cards that, Linvala the Preserver, these are cards that push you towards a longer game.
Looks like a Mirror Pool is going to kick things off for Sam Black before passing the turn. Fortified Village is going to start things off, and a nice little 1-drop here with Oath of Nissa. This is a card we've seen in conjunction with some of those Stasis Snare, Silk Wrap type removal spells in Standard.
And Mirror Pool kind of in there for the synergy of Ulvenwald Hydra for a Mirror Pool. The next turn you can Mirror Pool the Hydra.
Oh.
Yeah.
But Sam's only playing 1 Mirror Pool, or
1 Mirror Pool, 1 Hydra, but he has 3 Dark Petitions, and Dark Petition goes a long way towards making it so his deck is able to find the 1-ofs he needs and utilize them in the correct way.
And that'll be really interesting because taking a look at Sam's list, he does have a lot of 1-ofs, and specifically, he has a lot of 1-ofs that you can play off of the mana from Dark Petition as well that cost 2 or 3 mana.
To the slaughter.
To the slaughter takes care of
taking out of the Sylvan Advocate.
Yeah, and that's pretty nice.
And another thing that Sam's deck takes advantage of, I remember watching a very informative segment about keys to the format, and it talked about...
You watched this?
Yeah, it was broadcast here. And tons of lucky other people did the same. About how you vary your removal and how it's important to pick the right removal spells. Sam just has a bunch of 1-of removal spells with Dark Petition to kind of fill in the gaps.
Okay. Now, one of the interesting things that you see here is that we have Jonathan's list as Naya Control, and that's because he does lean on some Planeswalker. He's playing Nahiri the Harbinger in this deck. He's playing Gideon. He's playing Chandra. He's playing Nissa. So you can see that he really does have a long game deck lined up here of the mid-range variety still. But this is a situation that you mentioned in the keys, which is that Sam just gets to go way over the top of what Jonathan's doing, right?
Sam's hand currently is Nissa's Renewal, which he's about to cast, Seasons Past, and the Great Aurora. So
I think Sam answered the question, didn't he?
So we are, in fact, going quite deep.
Yeah. Now, he is going to be facing down an Archangel Apheson here, which is going to start taking chunks of life total, but you got to figure that Sam's going to be able to just go over the top here, right?
Yeah, and Sam is at 27, so he's got some time. Cards like Silk Wrap, even Dragon Lord Atarka is a powerful card, but not really what you want against the black-green deck full of removal spells. Like, Sam has the time here to go Seasons Past, get back to the Slaughter, and Explosive Vegetation, and Grasp of Darkness, and Nissa's Renewal. There's
a Nahiri off of Oath of Nissa, though, so get a Planeswalker on the battlefield here.
Yeah, and here you can use her +2, so she lets you discard a card to draw a card, and then at her -8 actually can present a pretty quick clock too. Lets you search up a creature and then put it on the battlefield. It has haste, and then it returns it to your hand.
Yeah, you can also search up an artifact with that, by the way. Did you know that?
I did.
Yeah, an artifact. Yeah. You can do that.
There are no artifacts in Jonathan's deck.
Not as it sits.
two in play, though.
Indeed.
So Sam able to utilize his vast mana advantage here and start casting Seasons Past.
Let's just see what he's going to grab here. So he's going to get all of these cards. So he's basically drawing 4 spells with Seasons Past here. I'm told that's good.
And then that lets him kill. He doesn't have Delirium, unfortunately. Otherwise, To the Slaughter could kill the.
How about Obnixilis?
Obnixilis is going to take out Avacyn here.
Okay.
So
that's pretty good.
Sam could also have gone Grasp of Darkness and then To the Slaughter. Grasp of Darkness, the Avacyn, To the Slaughter, the Nahiri. Had Jonathan drawn a land, and I guess he can +2 Nahiri to try to hit a land, and then play an Atarka if he drew a land to kill the Obnixilis, because Atarka can hit Planeswalkers. Instead, he drew an Archangel Avacyn there. So Jonathan thinking about whether he wants to crack a clue or not. His other play is to play Avacyn in a turn, but the problem is if he plays Avacyn in a turn, he knows Sam has Grasp of Darkness in hand. It got returned with Seasons Past, so Jonathan can't be feeling very good about that. And Sam is going to really start to go off with these land-fetching cards between Renewal and Explosive Vegetation. So Sam's going to be able to basically make sure he outnumbers Jonathan severely in permanence before casting the Great Aurora. And it's not mandatory you cast it. You could also just wait on it. And if Sam feels like he's in a winning position, he might just do that. Nissa Vastwood Seer. That was a good draw because now Nissa flips, immediately turns into the Sage Animist, so now can immediately draw Jonathan another card. So Jonathan does have 2 Planeswalkers. He's also making progress. Ooh, there is the Dark Petition.
Oh, jeez.
So currently it does not provide 3 black mana because Sam doesn't have Spell Mastery, but just having that in hand means that Sam's going to have a pretty good shot of setting up a powerful loop, and there's another Dark Petition too.
Okay.
So the main loop in this deck is casting Dark Petition for Seasons Past.
Okay.
And then you cast Seasons Past, getting back 4 or 5 cards.
Because it's safely on the bottom of his library.
Yeah, you
could just keep digging it back.
And every time you cast Seasons Past, you get back Dark Petition, and every Dark Petition gets back Seasons Past because part of its resolution is putting it at the bottom of the library.
Right. Now, walk us through the Great Aurora, right? So you play the Great Aurora, everybody takes all their permanents and cards in hand and shuffles them into the library, then draws that many cards, and then each player can put as many lands as they want from that. Now, how does that advantage Sam as opposed to his opponent, since both players get the
Sam's goal is to cast it when he outnumbers his opponent permanent-wise, which is why I don't think Sam's that close to casting the Great Aurora right now, since he has 13 permanents against Jonathan's 11. So that's
what about cards in hand too, though, right?
And Sam has more cards.
He has more
again,
cards
you
as well.
lose the cards as well. Oh
Yeah.
wow, that was a great draw.
Wow, Ruinous Path here.
Yeah, I guess he tutored for it, so it wasn't a draw exactly, but that was a great choice because now he gets to kill both Planeswalkers with To the Slaughter plus.
That's gross.
And he does have to take a point of damage off his Llanowar Waste, but he can live with that.
You think he's okay going to 21 here?
So what Sam is doing now is he's trading all his cards in hand for Jonathan's permanents and trying to put himself ahead for the Aurora. Part of the Aurora combo, too, is if Sam can maybe even Dark Petition up a Tireless Tracker at some point and then cast Vegetation and Nissa's Renewal with Tireless Tracker in play, generating 5 clues. And then next turn play land and get another clue. Then all of a sudden he's got 21 permanents to his opponent's 11. So Atarka comes down and devours Obnixilis, but Sam still has just tons of answers here. He now has Spell Mastery for his Dark Petition, so he can easily kill the Atarka. He can also he might have enough time to go and get Seasons Past and then do that. Plus, Sam can take a hit off Atarka. It's not like he's at a very low life total. So Sam, one of the key differences between his deck and some of the other like black-green Languish decks, like the deck the Pantheon played at the last Pro Tour, was that 4 Tireless Tracker, 4 Sylvan Advocate. So he's got a fair amount of actual creatures that can close out the game. So it looks like starting with Nissa's Renewal here. Let's put Sam up to 28 and gives him more and more lands. In fact, Sam is getting close to not having enough actual basics. He has 13 basics in his deck, and he's so far fetched out, looks like 12 of them. So you're in a good spot when you have that many lands in play.
He's got
usually.
12? Yeah, he does. Here's Nissa Vastwood Seer now for Jonathan. Still has that Atarka. Like you said, though, I don't think Sam's super worried about it.
No, he's not worried about the Atarka too much. And the Nissa's renewal put him to 28, so now he's going to get hit down to 20. Nahiri also might come down. Actually, it's funny. Jonathan could just refresh his board with the same 2 Planeswalkers that he had prior.
Mm-hmm.
You see Nissa flipping a land there. But Sam can now set up potentially another To the Slaughter by using Dark Petition to get Seasons Past.
And get a Planeswalker.
Well, Seasons Past does a pretty good job of taking you off Delirium.
Yeah, also he's only on 3 types right now.
Yeah, so Sam is not necessarily going to be able to set that up. Also, if he has enough mana, Ruinous Path can kill one Planeswalker and then the land can attack the other one. Okay, Sam's under a bit of pressure here. That's a Pulse of Marasa in his hand. So 2 and a green, return a creature land from a graveyard to its owner's hand, gain 6 life.
Uh-oh, he's hovering over that Great Aurora now. So he's got 7, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. He'll have 20. His number will be 20.
And then Jonathan has 7, 9,
15, 17.
15.
Like.
So Sam would rather, I think he's got the cards to maneuver himself into a slightly better position than that. But he is under a bit of pressure. Jonathan has assembled 2 threatening creatures and 2 threatening Planeswalkers. And between Dark Petition and Seasons Past in his deck, he has access to every card in his deck with Dark Petition, and then every card in his graveyard with Seasons Past.
Right, and he has plenty of mana to find a line to be able to mitigate these threats. It's kind of crazy, but like looking at Jonathan's board, you'd think he'd be significantly ahead, but I still have the feeling that Sam is.
Sam has, at the very least, he can put this game back into a somewhat parity situation. And one of the advantages about casting Great Aurora is if you have extra mana, like Sam does, he has 16 mana here. He can cast Great Aurora with a ton of mana floating, and then use that mana to replay a bunch of cards.
Of course.
So
he starts off the new game with
and he's the first player on the board.
Right.
So at the very worst, Sam can do that and be slightly ahead on Great Aurora. It looks like that.
Oh, he's doing
looks
it.
Like that's what's happening.
Here we go. Great Aurora time.
All right, let's see this go.
Do it, Sam.
And this is not one of those Great Auroras where Sam is crushing it, but this is a Great Aurora which, again, at the very least, puts him to slightly ahead as opposed to now where he's threatened to buy a bunch of different permanents.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sam pretty significantly ahead. And like you said, we're talking about a situation where he's behind currently. Right? I mean, he's getting rid of a lot of problematic cards here.
Right, he's taking himself from being significantly behind on the board to being slightly ahead overall.
Jeez.
Assuming both players draw equally. Sam's other option is to do something like Dark Petition, Seasons Past, cast a couple removal spells, and hope that next turn is even better for a Great Aurora. But given that he's floating all his mana now, it seems like his inclination is just to cast the Great Aurora.
I really want him to do it.
Well, I don't think anyone watching wants him to do anything other than cast the Great Aurora.
Yeah.
Whoa, no, Sam, what are you doing?
Oh, this isn't it, Sam. Not this way. Not like this, Sam.
The good thing is, Sam is going to cast the Great Aurora this game, but it might not be this turn.
Looks like he might Dark Petition here.
Yeah, it looks like a Dark Petition.
And then you're assuming Seasons Past is the...
It doesn't have to be Seasons Past. He has 11 mana, so he'd have 5 left if he cast Seasons Past. But Seasons Past into something like Ruinous Path plus and then play Sylvan Advocate, it gives him a pretty good base for next turn. One thing that makes Seasons Past a little less appealing is Nissa's Renewal and Explosive Vegetation no longer get very many lands because Sam is about out of lands. But it still puts him in an interesting spot. Wow, he got Nissa Vastwood Seer. So it's possible that he's just trying to up the number of permanents he has before casting the Great Aurora. He could still cast Great Aurora, don't worry.
But what's the point of upping the permanents if it's costing him cards in hand?
Well, it's net it's net putting him up because Nissa gets a land and then plays it, and then plus ones and then hits another land apparently.
As it stands, yes. Nicely hidden Evolving Wilds too, not a basic. So.
All right, there we go. There's the Great Aurora.
All right, we get to do it after all.
Sam deciding which mana to keep floating here.
Now, he's not going to have nearly as much mana floating as before, but here we go. The Great Aurora goes on the stack. You can take a look at it here. Oh, man.
So each player is going to draw a total number of cards equal to everything they had in play and everything they had in hand, and then play as many lands as they want, or put that many lands into play.
This is great.
Yeah, this says on the card.
Yeah, that was... Jeez. You know, you can't have it both ways. All right. And this is where our screen isn't quite big enough to hold all the cards, but we'll see what happens. All these lands are going to hit the battlefield for both players.
Did Sam select lands to put into play?
Uh-oh. Why? It should start with Sam as the active player, right? Now, we'll see. Let's just...
Well, we'll see.
We'll let it resolve.
Okay, he did. Good.
He did. All right. So
they both have... They both got to put a bunch of lands into play. Jonathan got 8 lands
top.
And 8 for Sam. 3 of them do come to play tapped. Sam has...
And remember, he had the 3 mana.
And Sam has another one of his big cards in hand, Ulamog.
Can he set up an Ulamog for next turn?
He
has
can cast
vegetation.
explosive vegetation. Sam didn't actually draw very many lands total.
He really didn't, did he?
So I think he was probably disappointed by the number of lands he ended up with, but I still think Sam is in okay shape here.
Sam right now has 13 cards in his hand.
Oh, and apparently Sam just clicked the all lands button, which is that makes
a nice little shortcut.
Yes, that is a very good shortcut. All right, so Sam's just going to play a bunch of Sylvan Advocates, it looks like.
Well, that is going to make life difficult. You know, you mentioned it that it puts Sam ahead after the dust settles, and you can see that he's significantly ahead now. And, you know, Jonathan's going to have 8 lands to work with, maybe even 9 if he draws one. But he's got a lot of catching up to do here. 3 Sylvan Advocates is a beating.
Yeah, that's 12 power worth of creatures. Jonathan can play an Atarka, but that would be his only spell. He could also do something like play Stasis Snare, or he could play Linvala the Preserver. If he draws land, he can go Linvala plus Stasis Snare, which is a pretty good amount of stopping power. Sam having the discard here, unsurprisingly, after you have drawn millions of cards.
Man, that Great Aurora was sweet.
Yeah, it kind of flip-flopped what went on. But now,
yeah.
So it drew Jonathan a bunch of cards. He now has 7 cards and 8 cards, 9 cards in his hand, instead of the 3 he had before. But now, instead of Jonathan having 4 good permanents in play, Sam has 3 good permanents in play. Right. Sam did lose a bunch of lands. That was the price he paid. Is he went from having 16 lands in play to having 8 lands in play.
Yeah, it's a big deal. But I got to say, I like the outlook here for Sam Black, looking at his hand and how well it's going to match up against what Jonathan's doing.
Sam Black F8'd after sacrificing all his Evolving Wilds, auto-passing, and now just left the table.
He's gone. I thought that was Sam, but it was actually Jace down there.
Sam's done what he came to do, which is cast Great Aurora.
We'll see you next round. So we'll see.
So Jonathan currently on 8 mana and tons of different options.
Yeah.
So 9 mana if he plays the land out of his hand. So one way to look at this is what's just like the total. What's the highest converted mana cost of spells I can play? It's a kind of a shortcut here, and casting Linvala plus Stasis Snare seems pretty appealing to me. Unfortunately, no life gain for Jonathan, but you still get Linvala as a 5/5 plus a 3/3 flying angel.
Right.
And then that leaves mana up for Jonathan to either cast Stasis Snare, or looks like he ended up going with the Death Cap Cultivator here.
It does have Death Touch right now, so it can just trade off anyway. Assuming that Linvala gets removed.
Linvala is in fact going to pay the ultimate price. And Sam drew a Seasons Past, which very good draw here, because now Sam can...
His graveyard's quite well stocked.
Spend some time casting Nissa's Pilgrimage, and then maybe playing like another Sylvan Advocate, smashing for a bunch. He can also
And
he
then
can
just
actually
Ulamog
grasp
next turn?
he can grasp the death cap here and attack with all 3 Sylvan Advocates, and then play another Sylvan Advocate.
Wow.
So Sam is deeply pressuring Jonathan's life total while also being able to play an Ulamog next turn.
Jeez. Sam Black, everybody. This is great. He cast the Great Aurora, got himself way ahead, and is now going to be able to completely capitalize on it, it looks like. So tough for Jonathan. I mean, you can look at his hand. He's obviously got an insane hand, all spells with plenty of lands on the battlefield, but it's almost like, Sam Black being the first one to be able to commit threats to the board has let him just play the get-ahead, stay-ahead game after the Great Aurora went.
So now Atarka's going to come down and eat one of the Sylvan Advocates, and Jonathan can also play his own Sylvan Advocate here. But Sam has enough mana now to cast Ulamog, removing both those threats, exiling them both, and attacking for 12, which that is lethal.
I ran the numbers, and that's going to do it. Sam Black knows it too. You see his pace has quickened, and there's Ulamog, the ceaseless hunger. We just had lunch here, but it never ends for Ulamog, and that's going to do it for game 1. Sam Black and his great Aurora deck gets the job done. Exciting stuff in the feature match area there. We can take a look at sideboarding plans from our players. And what is Jonathan going to do about this?
I suppose I would expect to see Gideon, ally of Zendikar, come in maybe just as a way to pressure Sam. It doesn't match up all that well against Sylvan Advocate, so that's one reason not to, but still, you don't really want cards like Silk Wrap, Stasis Snare, and Radiant Flames in your deck. I just think removal... You have to respect Tireless Tracker or Sylvan Advocate, but you don't want tons of removal. We saw Jonathan forced to mulligan a hand because it had 2 Stasis Snare in it, so I definitely could see him going a little deeper. He's also, it looks like he's bringing in Lambholt Pacifist, which is interesting. This is a 2-mana 3/3 that flips into a 4/4, and it can only attack if you have a 4-power creature, as a way to potentially pressure Sam.
So what you're saying here is that Jonathan is basically saying, I can't compete with you in the late game. You will overpower me. So instead, I'm going to try to go underneath, try to get you dead as quickly as possible, and trim away some of these more reactive cards.
Exactly, because I mean, this is the almost the textbook definition I was thinking of when I said that if you wanted to go big in standard, you needed to really go big. Jonathan has a high end. He's got Linvala, he's got Atarka, he's got a bunch of Planeswalkers. Sam can go way over the top of that with Worldbreaker, Ulamog, the Great Aurora. So Sam is going big, and Jonathan now has to respect the fact that he can't go big enough to beat Sam. He can't go. You just can't go over the top of the card Sam has. So Jonathan has to actually try to go under them with Lambholt Pacifist and Gideon to just attack Sam before he can cast these just monstrously expensive cards. So Sam, on the other hand, he can really just tune which removal spells he wants. Like Grasp of Darkness isn't great. Do you want Infinite Obliteration? I would expect not in this matchup. Another Dark Petition. To the Slaughter sounds like a pretty reasonable card against a deck that has a bunch of Planeswalkers and a medium amount of creatures. You can sometimes pick up a 2-for-1 there. But overall, Sam is really just tweaking the numbers and the composition of his deck. He's not really changing fundamentally what it's trying to do, whereas Jonathan's taking out removal spells and putting in threats. So he is changing where his deck is going.
All right, looks like our players are just about ready to rumble here. And let's take a look at their openers. It looks like Jonathan may have already taken a mulligan.
Yeah, but this is a fine hand with Oath of Nissa plus Nahiri, and you got to scry as well. It's kind of funny scrying when you have a turn 1 Oath of Nissa.
Oh, that is weird.
Because you want to leave a good card on top, but if the card's good enough that you're just really happy with it, you just won't want to cast Oath of Nissa turn 1.
Right.
If you scry to the bottom, I think you're a lot more incentivized to cast the Oath of Nissa on turn 1, of course.
Looks like you found a Sylvan Advocate. How does it look for Sam Black down on the bottom part of the screen there?
Sam's got a great hand. He's got 3 land, a 2-drop and a 3-drop removal spell, and a 2-drop and a 3-drop creature. So he's forced to take damage off his Llanowar Waste, but he still gets to go Sylvan Advocate into Tireless Tracker. He might wait a turn on Tireless Tracker. It's fairly common to wait till turn 4 to play it, just so you can at least get 1 clue guaranteed off of it.
Yeah, the question is usually, do you have something else to do with your mana? Which he does.
In this case, Ruinous Path or Ultimate Price are both options, though here I might be tempted just to cast the tracker because now you've drawn Explosive Vegetation. That's a very big difference.
Oh, right.
Because
Next
it
turn
can
you
search
get
for
to
2 lands for 4 mana.
Wow.
If you play tracker and it lives, next turn you get to cast Vegetation, get 2 more clues.
An answer for the Tyler's tracker immediately.
So one of the most impactful cards in Shadows over Innistrad, as it turns out, it's a card that's seeing play in a lot of different constructed decks. It's just a very good value card, draws you a bunch of extra cards, and eventually becomes very difficult for your opponent to stop.
Yeah, it's a little slow, but it's worth it, it turns out. We saw this in Legacy. Here we go.
Gonna grab 2 more clues.
Just spewing clues all over the battlefield. This is going to spiral out of control pretty quickly if Jonathan doesn't have a really strong response to this.
So, Atarka was a pretty good draw. Jonathan can't cast it this turn because the Cinderglade will come into play tapped. Instead, he's going to be able to cast a Nahiri. Nahiri making some waves in Modern, too.
I've heard that.
So, in Standard, she's mostly used because she exiles artifacts and enchantments and or tapped artifacts and tapped creatures. Also, she filters some cards. Like, Jonathan gets to use her to turn, like less optimal removal spells in Game 1, for example, into gas. In Modern, her ultimate starts to come into play because she can go and get an Emrakul and attack with it immediately.
And that's often a game winner right on the spot.
Nahiri also has a lot of loyalty.
Yes.
She immediately comes in at 6 here.
Yeah. Looks like Jonathan decided to discard Dragonlord Atarka there to that.
Yeah, he's a couple turns away from casting it, and it's not even clear if it's going to kill all that much.
So he's got an Archangel Avacyn lined up here.
So Sam looking like he's going to potentially ultimate price the Lambholt Pacifist. Actually, at this point, the Sylvan Advocate's still a 2/3, so you could ultimate price the Lambholt Pacifist then attack past the Sylvan Advocate. One of the features of Sam deck is he gets to ramp, so now his Sylvan Advocate's a 4/5 where he's facing against a 2/3.
Yeah, even though he was on the draw this game.
So Sam can also attack Nahiri with his creatures here, and then force Jonathan to either lose Nahiri by chump blocking, because remember, Tireless Tracker can sacrifice 2 clues and become a 5/4 here.
Yeah, it looks like Jonathan's going to force that issue here, and Sam's going to oblige him, sacrificing these clue tokens down here.
Sam's alternate line of play here would have been to cast Ruinous Path on the Lambholt Pacifist and just kill Nahiri as well. Sam did get the Pacifist for free here by just sacrificing clues, but that does mean that Jonathan can now use Nahiri to exile the Tireless Tracker because Nahiri can exile tap creatures here.
Wow. It's a big difference.
So it looks like Jonathan is actually going to plus Nahiri.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's leaning on Avacyn to block, but even then Sam could attack Nahiri with both creatures if he wanted to. As it turns out, Sam actually has ultimate price to kill Avacyn, so Sam is firmly far ahead here.
Yeah, especially now that he gets to keep this Tireless Tracker to keep generating value turn after turn.
So
he's gonna be pretty keenly aware that Archangel Avacyn's a possibility here with the mana that Jonathan's left up.
Yeah, I'd expect to see Sylvan Advocate attack Nahiri and potentially Tireless Tracker just attack Jonathan directly.
That's exactly what happened.
With ultimate price ready to snipe Avacyn here.
Whoop.
And that's just going to leave Jonathan at 15 life, less if Sam wants to sacrifice some clues. No Nahiri in play, and Sam gets to play like a face-down Den Protector and have the mana up to use it. Sam is in firm control over this game, and last game we saw Great Aurora take Sam from a losing position to a winning position. This game we just never saw Sam get into a losing position. He's just beating down with his giant creatures.
He's just been ahead the whole entire game. And you mentioned it when he first cast the Tireless Tracker, Luis, that it can become a threat later on. Look at that. It's a 6/5 right now. And it could easily be 8 power if he wants to add the mana here. If he wants to spend the mana, I mean. All right, well, he drew a Gideon to go with the Sylvan Advocate for the turn, so that's pretty nice. He's at least bolstering his board, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough here.
No, his tracker is getting enormous. Sam's drawing a bunch of cards. He's got Ulvenwald Hydra in hand, Olamog, Worldbreaker, 2 Tireless Trackers, a Den Protector. Like Sam can like Ruinous Path, kill Sylvan Advocate, make a 4/4, attack Gideon with the 4/4 Advocate and the land, or the 4/5 Advocate and the now 6/6 land, and then and then attack Jonathan directly with the Tireless Tracker.
Wow.
Yeah, Sam wastes no time here.
Yeah, and you can see the land is 6/6 because it's getting pumped from the Advocate.
Where are those heading? They're just like two heading at Gideon, and
the two. These
and
two
then
are at Gideon, and the
the Tireless Tracker heading at Jonathan directly. So Jonathan has no cards in play, no cards in hand. Drew a Nahiri, which can take out the Tireless Tracker.
That's nice, but he's still facing 10 power and 7 spells in hand, Louis. 7 spells. Like, this is insane.
And a clue sitting in play.
Yeah. Oh, forget it. Sam Black is just destroying this match right now.
He's managed to outcard and actually out-tempo Jonathan here pretty severely. I mean,
he really has.
He's ahead on the board and ahead on cards, ahead on life, ahead on clues.
Right.
Ahead of a bunch of other metrics we could make up that wouldn't necessarily tell any stories.
But you decided not to unleash
ahead
those.
on Eldrazi in hand.
And a land off the top, of course, for Jonathan.
And he does have that Needle Spires there, so
it's true.
He is able to put a blocker in the way, but it's going to be difficult for Sam to find a way to lose this game. I don't think he's looking to end it as quickly
might
as
be
possible.
Gone here as well. Here's Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger again. This was the card that effectively finished the match last time, and you see a little smile there for Sam Black, and also one from Jonathan. He's a good sport, but that was a beating. It's tough to take that kind of a loss here. But Sam Black, our only undefeated player left. He's now 4-0 here at the Magic Online Championship. Great stuff.
Yeah, and that looked like a pretty tough matchup for Jonathan. I think that he's going to have a challenge beating Sam in that matchup.
I got to go back to the LSV's keys. You were right. Yeah, go big.
Yep.
All right, so Kenji Egashira is over in the red zone, and he's got a few games queued up for us.
Hey guys, Kenji back in the red zone. I have a few matches that finished up. The first one's going to be between Niels Norlander and Joe Spanier. Let's go down to that replay now. All right, on the top you see Niels Norlander, Joe Spanier on the bottom. And a little bit different of a look here. We have Landor Wastes, Island versus Swamp Plains. Niels on the 4-color right stack, and Joe actually on the same deck. But it's Niels who has the Cryptolith right, starting a little bit quicker than Joe, who can do nothing but use the Eldrazi Displacer to kind of save some life for himself. End of turn Collected Company for Niels hits both Eldrazi Displacer and Zulaport Cutthroat, two of the most important cards in this match. And then we see on turn 5 from Niels a Brood Monitor, and in conjunction with Eldrazi Displacer and Zulaport Cutthroat, that is going to very quickly end the game. Eldrazi Displacer can just continuously flicker the Brood Monitor, sacking the Scions, each Scion, of course, triggering the Zulaport Cutthroat, and from there, he can just kill Joe in one fell swoop. Let's go on to the second game. Second game starts off pretty similarly, actually. As you can see, both players just developing out creatures. Joe a little bit faster than last time. Transgress the Mind from Niels, hitting a Reflector Mage on Joe's hand. And then a Cryptolith Right for Joe, seemingly putting him in a great position. Niels doing nothing but developing out slow lands. Joe battling in here with his multiple creatures, but a Collected Company by Niels again, hitting Eldrazi Displacer ×2. A double block just in case. Elvish Visionary, this game going back and forth, of course. Collected Companies and Cryptolith Rights on both sides of the battlefield, but things have evenly progressed at this point. A Reflector Mage returning one of Niels' creatures. Niels opting to save himself a bit of life. And here we go again. As we see time and time again, Collected Company just doing a huge amount of work. Probably one of the best cards in Standard. In fact, Luis's Keys, I think he mentioned the best card in Standard.
Not you two.
Eldrazi Displacer, Reflector Mage doing what they do to return cards to Joe Spanier's hand. But Joe has a ton of other creatures. Both players have developed out their hands very nicely with Duskwatch Recruiter. And as we can see from Niels, he is just starting to go off. Eldrazi Displacer, Brood Monitor, Cryptolith Rite, Catacomb Sifter. He's scrying through his deck. He's producing multiple tokens every go-around, and this is going to go on for a little while until he finds the cards that he needs on top of his library. I'll skip through that turn a little bit quicker so you guys can see what happens here, because it goes on for a while. Finally, he finds a Zulaport Cutthroat, and that is going to be the end of it. Eldrazi Displacer, Zulaport Cutthroat, and Brood Monitor doing what they do best.
Thank you, Kenji. So that brings us to the third game, and I can tell you I actually have it up on my monitor right now, so once we get that for you, it does look like we're in the very late stages of the game, similar to how that game ended here, but this is the last match going, and this is our last game. We can take a look at it here. Luis, what do we see? And this board looks a little muddled.
It does, which usually is a good thing for the Cryptolith Rites deck, because right now you see Mitchell Manders on the top there. He's got Reflector Mage and Duskwatch Recruiter and Eldrazi Displacer. The combination of those cards means, in conjunction with Cryptolith Rites, he can spend 3 mana to look at his top 3 with Duskwatch Recruiter. He can also spend 3 mana to use Eldrazi Displacer, exile a Reflector Mage. It comes back and bounces anything that Jerry has. So right now, even though Mitchell doesn't have the actual combo here, because he's missing
He's got the
Zulaport
soft
Cutthroat.
lock
He's
here.
got the soft lock. He's
Yeah.
going to be able to bounce as many permanents as he wants, draw a ton of creatures. I mean, not infinite, because again, he's bound by the number of mana he has, but Cryptolith Rite plus all of these creatures means that, and just tons of lands and
These plant tokens are just O1s.
see, you see that Jerry
he's actually going for Jerry's life total here.
you see that Jerry could make a
Oh,
Westvale Abbey token,
yeah.
or he could flip Westvale Abbey into Ormondal, but again,
Displacer, Reflector Mage, whatever you want to call it.
yep.
So here's Archangel Avacyn for Thompson.
So it makes all of his plants indestructible. Mitchell can bounce Avacyn by, again, using Displacer on Reflector Mage,
Mm-hmm.
but the plants would still be indestructible, so at the very least it blunts this attack. And Avacyn does a pretty good job of getting around Reflector Mage's other text, because she has Flash, so even though you can't play her on your turn, you can just wait to your opponent's next turn to play her. Avacyn gets bounced, and then it's once again going to be Jerry's turn here. So what Jerry's looking for here is Tragic Arrogance. If he can find a Tragic Arrogance, and his hand currently is...
He's got 6 cards. Oh, you
Well,
can see his hand? What
I
does he
can.
have?
Is Sylvan Advocate, Avacyn, and 4 lands.
Oh, no.
So if Jerry had Tragic Arrogance, he could reduce Mitchell to just 1 human cleric in play, sacrifice all other creatures, but he needs that pretty quickly because Mitchell's getting so much advantage every single turn.
Can he work his way up to a Nissa Ultimate here?
I think he's gonna fall a little short,
He's
because
just going to be dead.
the other thing to realize is that Westvale Abbey on Mitchell's side of the board could be coming soon.
Yeah, also of note here, the Eldrazi Displacer has gone to work on the
Yeah.
plants, just
It's
mowing
trimming
the
the
lawn here.
plants.
Yeah, so this is not turning out well. This is another, way that Mitchell's leveraging the advantage he has from having a Cryptolith Rite on the table, is he was able to just completely mow the lawn there, and there's just 2 plants left after he used up all of his mana for the turn. He could also dump it into the Duskwatch Recruiter, as you described, but he's decided just to manage the board state so he can go for the kill on the ground. It's hard to blame him, too. He could probably kill Jerry in 2 turns with this line.
And now Mitchell found Catacomb Sifter, which is one of the parts of the combo. The reason that the deck can get away with playing, just 1 Zulaport Cutthroat or 2 Zulaport Cutthroats is if you have Catacomb Sifter in play, every time you sack a Scion, you get to scry. So you just keep flickering Brood Monitor with Displacer, sacrificing 3 Scions to do so, scry through your whole deck and find the Zulaport Cutthroat, put it on top, and then draw it with something like Duskwatch Recruiter or Elvish Visionary. Of course, in this particular case, because Jerry did not cast any spells, Duskwatch Recruiter became Kralin Horde Howler. So
Indeed.
currently it's in werewolf form.
All right. Second copy of Cryptolith Rite doesn't really do anything, but
Well, a reason to play the second copy is if Jerry does have a way to kill one of them, you have it in play, so you'll be able to use the mana right away. But yeah, as is, it's not a huge point of impact.
So Jerry's going to activate Westvale Abbey to make a 1/1 cleric.
And-
Westvale Abbey does have 2 different activated abilities there.
And Jerry would love to be able to flip his Avacyn, to have one of his plants die or have his human cleric die. But again, the Eldrazi Displacer plus Reflector Mage combo is just really tough for green-white to deal with.
Yeah.
So currently Mitchell is using Displacer on Reflector Mage at the end of turn to bounce the Avacyn, presumably.
Yeah, that's correct.
Then the Howler flips back because Mitchell played Cryptolith right and Catacombs Sifter. Another reason to play the right is to actually flip the Werewolf, and that'll do it.
And that's going to do it. Jerry T concedes that one. Mitchell Manders wins that match. So that's it for our first round of Standard. Good stuff here from the Magic Online Championship. That will do it for round 4.